Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the first series of the Evolution podcast, where we're meeting with owners of coaching and training SMBs to discuss evolving their business and client impact in the era of AI. Today, we're fortunate to have Olivier with us. Olivier spent 25 years in Silicon Valley as a CMO at companies like Invisalign, LegalZoom, and others. He just published his book, Leadership in Action, and he is the founder and executive coach at HPO Coach. Welcome, Olivier. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and the value that HPO brings to its clients.
Oh, thank you, Ethan. Thank you for the warm welcome. And so the foundation for HPO Coach really came from my realization as a marketing executive over, as you said, 25 years, that the reason I was so successful in marketing was because I was successful supporting my teams and helping them grow and become a better version of themselves. And so I realized, and I hired a coach to help me realize that the reason for my success is that I was really focused on helping people around me grow. And so I decided in 2015, when I was kind of done with, corporate roles, to start my own leadership development practice, executive coaching practice. And so it's been a very interesting ride, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in the context of today's economy. But it's the type of job for me where I wake up in the morning, I'm excited because I know I'm going to change people's lives. And, that's kind of what I want my legacy to be, hence the book that you mentioned.
Fantastic. And for our listeners out there who might be interested in your services, could you just tell us a little bit more about how you uniquely develop leaders at HPO Coach?
Absolutely. I think that what we're seeing today, especially with AI being pushed out there as a solution for everything, the reality is that when you coach people and you want them to achieve real results, there is no cookie cutter approach. It's not a vanilla approach of, these are the 15 questions you need to answer, and then you'll get your path forward. It's really completely customized. And so that's how I approach it. It's one conversation at a time. Of course, I have a baseline and some things I need to find out, but it's very conversational. It's tailored specifically to the needs and desires or challenges of the person I'm talking to. So it's not a survey and then a magic pill shows up, at your doorstep. That's not how it works. A lot of self-proclaimed coaches take that approach just to reach scale. My philosophy, which is, to be honest, a really bad business model, is that I want to get you to the point where you no longer need me, you no longer pay me. That's my success metric. So that's how I do business.
Fantastic. Well, I think that people listening would be happy to hear that, right? I think there's a lot of business models that depend on dependency, and it sounds like you're trying to create a system where it's really empowering people to be servant leaders for the people that come after them, and to pass on what they learn rather than to be stuck in a continuous learning cycle where they haven't actually achieved the version of themselves they're working towards. So that's fantastic. And that leads us to our episode today, which is going to be building forward-thinking servant leaders with AI. And like you said, when you touched on AI earlier, I think that you're perfect to come in to discuss this because you're trying to build servant leaders, and it's not something that is just a cookie cutter framework. It's not a type of coaching and result that you can achieve by just using AI. It's something that requires customization and catering. But I think that there's customization and catering that can be done even better with AI. So look forward to discussing that a little bit more so with you. And I guess, just zooming out on executive coaching and leadership development, you said in your book that servant leadership is essential and it reinforces high performance. I guess I'm curious where you think that AI can reinforce servant leadership and therefore create more high performing leaders.
Sure. So I think that, I love the latest mantra from Intuit, which is HI plus AI is a good combination. So human intelligence plus artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of fear around AI is going to replace jobs, right? And we've seen some of that, in large Silicon Valley companies where, the message is
Oracle.
Oracle, Apple, Google, Facebook, even Intuit, like, oh, we're going to lay off a few thousand people, but it's not actually layoffs. We're replacing them with people who are proficient at AI. So back to your question, this is just a context in this location, right? Back to your question, I think that AI is a formidable tool. But if the human does not teach the AI the foundational idioms, the foundational work that needs to happen, the foundational challenges that a coach is faced with and that his clients are faced with, then the AI is just a nice chat GPT giving you directions to the nearest restaurant. It's not that useful. So, but if you teach your AI to be a virtual representation of yourself, that takes a lot of teaching. Think about kids, right? I mean, you don't just give them a PowerPoint slide and suddenly they know how to be a good adult. So it's the same thing with the AI. The AI is a child that needs to be educated, that needs to understand how to treat others, needs to ask the right questions. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I mean, just think about lead generation, right? I mean, you can have lead generation happening in your sleep if you know how to use agentic AI, and it filters, it looks at your ICP, your ideal client profile, and it brings people to your doorstep and on your calendar while you're sleeping. That's a good use of AI in order to scale a small business, whether it be coaching or otherwise.
Of course. Yeah, but it's different when you need to go and actually do the coaching, right, and execute on it. What you're taking AI and doing is not, okay, I have a generic LLM and I have problem-solving capabilities that maybe work for something like lead gen, where it's very data-driven and specific. And not that coaching lacks data, right? Like there are personality types like Myers-Briggs. You can analyze that, and there are metrics that can be used to evaluate. I just think it's much more nuanced than something like running the business side and doing things like lead generation.
Exactly.
But I guess I'm curious, how have you been thinking about, as you're coaching people to be better servant leaders, as you were in the companies that you worked at? Have you been able to coach people in a way where you're helping them incorporate AI into their leadership?
So I'll give you a disappointing answer. In terms of leadership, I haven't cracked the nut yet. I don't even know if it's something that should happen. I'm still old school that way. I believe that human relationships is really where you can uncover the challenges people are facing. And there's a lot of emotional connection that happens. There's body language, there's all that stuff. To my knowledge, and I may be behind the times, but I don't think that there's an AI solution out there that successfully can read body language, micro facial expressions, and then infer the mood that the other party is in, whether they're stressed, whether they're happy, whether they just got great news, really bad news. Until that happens, I think that you're better served with a human in front of you who can say, you know, Ethan, you're nodding your head right now, which means you understand, you agree. Okay, let's build on that. As opposed to, Ethan, here's question number 15. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I don't necessarily mean from the perspective of being there live in the moment and dictating the interactions that leaders are having with people on their team. I guess I mean more so like, for example, I have my own personal second brain system that I've built out, that I've provided a lot of context, right? I've done the learning process that you described, and it understands me very well. And therefore, when I go and interact with people that are on my team, or when I have calls with my clients, I'm able to then take in those interactions, not the body language and whatnot, though I can, let's say that I'm in an interaction and I'm like, okay, the transcript is not going to reflect the fact that I noticed some disengagement and whatnot. I noticed some body language that was unfavorable. Let's pretend there's a scenario where I'm inputting a mixture of notes on things that I realized during that human part of the interaction, combining it with my, with the understanding of who I am that I've provided to the AI, as well as like the transcript of that interaction. So you've got a meeting and the content in the meeting mixed with the emotion that you picked up as a human. So you're combining a hybrid approach combined with the understanding of you. And I think you combine that also even with, let's pretend that a leader has information on the people's Myers-Briggs and whatnot that are on their team. I think you combine all those things, and now you've got a recipe for progression and improved team
Absolutely.
dynamic
I
potentially.
completely agree with you, Ethan. And I think that one thing that you mentioned, which I think is actually a big, powerful advantage of using AI, is that during a conversation human to human, if you don't have to worry and spend your brain on taking notes because the AI is going to give you an exact transcript of the conversation, you can really focus on the other human. And so you can notice all those micro reactions. You can notice the mood. You can notice the disengagement, right? All those things, or the
Yeah,
excitement. And I
totally.
think that's where I think, as of today, I think that's the power of agentic AI and just AI in general, like Fireflies and all these other brands that transcribe meetings and give you a summary.
Yeah.
To me, the value of that is that it doesn't take you away from noticing the person you're talking to.
I completely agree. And right, like it's not only valuable just because you've got that transcript, right? You have to actually go and do the work of
Yeah,
combining it with what
yeah,
you've learned, combining it with who that person is that said what they said, and with who you are if you want to then bring it back into a human context
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
in-person conversation.
And I love what
But
you
again,
said, Ethan. I'm sorry to interrupt. I love what you said. That's why I'm interrupting because I want to put a flashlight on it. The fact that you taught your AI agent to think like you, behave like you, that's a massive first step that a lot of people miss.
yeah, yeah. Are you thinking about that in terms of your coaching and the clients that you have, like as they're trying to explore AI and think about how they're factoring it into leadership? Is it something that you've considered in your programming?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually used an AI solution to try and create a coaching app. Now, I'm not a developer by any stretch of the imagination, but within a matter of 10 minutes, I had a functioning app. But what I noticed was that it was not an interactive app. It was mostly a brochure with some sections that you could go through in terms of training, stuff like that. But it wasn't like having somebody real with real experience in front of you where you can debate points and you can ask questions off the cuff. Right? So AI can do things to a certain extent.
Yeah,
I don't think it's ready yet to completely replace humans, which, to be
of course,
honest,
of course.
I'm
Oh,
happy
not
about
suggesting. Not suggesting. Yeah, I was just curious more at thinking about from you and the industries and the clients that you're
that.
serving perspective as they're demanding AI integration into their lives, how you've had to reflect that within your business model. And it sounds like it's something that you have underway that you're working towards
Right.
incorporating, clearly thinking about and important, right? Like I think that
Yeah.
like you said, even if you just focus on the one instance of the ability to pay attention better in meetings, like that's ground zero. But
Yep.
I think like level maybe 2 or 3 is like the thing that I'm doing right now, which is second brain system combined with the things that I noticed during meetings, combined with transcript. And then I
Yep.
think you take it to level 4, which is combining that with detailed understandings of the people that as a leader you are leading. Then I think that's where like you have a real big unlock. So, anyways, food for
Yep.
thought for you as you're
No,
doing your
absolutely. Yeah, no,
delivery.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, would love to move on and talk a little bit more about HPO Coach and the business side, right?
Okay.
Curious how you've been thinking about evolving your business and maybe something that you've done so far that is working pretty well for you in terms of integrating AI into the business.
So let me give you a little context. It's going to be very short. All of my clients have been through word of mouth and referrals to this day over the last 11 years.
It's impressive and amazing.
Well, you're right. Yeah, thank you. I think it comes from the fact that I really take pride in my work. So I don't take myself seriously at all, but I take my work very seriously. And
Yeah, you
people,
told me that.
People remember that. So I haven't had to use AI to fill my pipeline. But now I'm getting to the point where I realize I should use AI to fill my pipeline, right? Because it's nice to get referrals, it's nice to reach out to my connections, but we live in an economy right now where companies are more focused on making sure they get the revenue, the EBITDA, and hopefully save employees from being laid off, as opposed to really having that mindset of, well, we're going to win if we help our employees become better leaders.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where this concept of servant leadership to me is not new by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely groundbreaking. Is that instead of perceiving that leaders in a company are just the top 10% and everybody else, they're just sheep and they're just doing what they're told, servant leadership develops leaders at all levels of the organization, including frontline employees who answer the phone when customers are upset or when they're happy or when they want to order something. Developing leadership skills at all levels of the organization is always going to be a win. That's what I've seen. May not be truth 100% of the time, but based on what I've seen, it's always been the case. It's changed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for
Have
the better.
how do you think about expanding the offering that you have within one client, within one organization that you're working with, right? So you're explaining to me that not only are we going to the highest levels or the upper management, but throughout an entire corporation, there's value in leadership skill development.
Yeah.
I guess, are you thinking more, what are you prioritizing more strategically? Are you prioritizing using things like AI to get more leads that are outside of your existing customer base? Or do you have an approach that you're undergoing right now to try to sell at multiple levels within one client?
So on the first question, I'm thinking about how I can leverage AI to open the top of the funnel, right? Get a bigger pipeline. When it comes to ICP and who I'm targeting, the reality still remains the same nowadays that as a business, you need to target whoever controls the purse string, right?
Yep.
So it makes no sense for me to target marketing managers or finance managers or operations people who do not have a budget and can't make a decision to invest in their team, even though they might like to. So it has to go up the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
And those folks have a lot of demands thrown at them, a lot of budget requirements thrown at them. And so it means it needs to be a culture setting where helping your employees grow is actually a priority. Because if it's not, then that's going to fall on a deaf ear as well.
Gotcha. And I guess I'm curious. So let's pretend you have a spectrum of companies that view it as a high priority and they have a deep understanding of the reason for it, both just from a purpose-driven perspective and from a profit-driven perspective, right? Because ultimately there is an impact to bottom line and growth that stems within that, though it is difficult to quantify. And then you've got the companies that really are lacking this understanding and it's not in the budget whatsoever. And that can be for whatever reason. It can just be that it's financial constraint and they're not able to realize it. Or that they genuinely just don't care about it and they think that there's other ways to drive money that are more important, right? Obviously, you're not. There's the people that are on this half of the spectrum aren't people that you can target. However, there's a range that's up there at the top that you would want to target. How are you thinking about targeting those people that are more in the middle, and what approach do you have to convincing them the value of servant leadership within their company?
Sure. So you mentioned something that's very interesting, which is it's hard to quantify the impact. I agree and yet disagree slightly with that statement. I think that a lot of coaches don't actually take the time to figure out their KPIs, their key performance indicators,
Of course.
so they can quantify the positive impact of coaching on the company. Now, you can look at a variety of metrics, right? I mean, I grew up a direct marketer, so I live and die by metrics.
Yeah.
You can look at, for example, engagement scores of the employees, the ones that have been coached, the ones that have not, retention levels. Because we know that there's a cost to losing an employee who's going to another company, because then you have the cost of the recruiter, the cost of hiring a new person, the cost of training them, and getting them.
Hiring costs. Yep.
And so, but if you can quantify that, then you apply a multiplying factor to the coaching impact, which is, oh, by the way, this person who on average would have left after 2 years, they're still here after 3.5 years. This is how much money you've saved by investing in coaching. So I think there's a lot of that can be quantified. It just requires rigor and effort to set up the metrics so that you can quantify, and then in a way prove your value to people who are just thinking about dollars and cents.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I guess I'm curious, you clearly have a very good understanding of how to go about quantifying this value. And you have a goal clearly to expand your client pipeline. I'm curious how that's been going for you so far. What are some challenges that you've been undergoing as you've tried to expand your current client base?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll go to the main challenge. The main challenge is that in an industry where layoffs are happening more frequently, and I'm talking to Silicon Valley, okay, so highly tech. It may not be the case in Chicago or in Miami, but around here, with so much competition in the market, right? You really need to focus on companies that still have this belief that focusing on employees is an important mission that will help them be successful. Now, you can feed that into an AI, because the AI can look at all the documentation online and say, oh, this company says their employees are number one, and that's to serve customers, and then shareholders will benefit, right? And you can definitely use AI for that. So you don't have to look at 5,000 websites to figure out who the 50 main target companies are, who will actually appreciate what you have to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm. And do you have an approach for, right? Like now we're kind of getting into like the lead generation, outreach kind of conversation, right? Yep. Obviously you can use AI to really narrow down on, a handful, and I'm saying 50 as a handful only because you also have the opportunity to target thousands at once if you wanted to, depending on what your approach is, right? Do you view those 50 that you identify as like okay, now I need to look at my network, see if I can get referred into these companies, call them up manually? Like what's your approach? So far you're using AI to identify companies that are potential prospects. What's your approach to reaching out to them?
It's definitely, and in some cases, it's using a different AI solution to get access to the contact info of the folks who are decision makers in those companies. If I don't first find them through my network, a warm intro is always better than a cold call. So I focus on the network. I focus on, hey, you seem to know this person. Can you please make an intro? This is what I have to offer. This is what they're saying they need. That's the best approach in my experience. It does not get you the scale that you need to really make a business explode. So then you have to look at other things. There's a great AI out there that if you install it, you can look at any company website and it'll give you all the executives, their names, their position, their email, their cell phone. That's fantastic. But then you have to balance the human aspect of, well, do I want to be that intrusive that I'm going to contact the COO sending him a text? Or do I want to work my network so the COO is willing to take an email from me or a meeting from me? So, it's sometimes it's a double-edged sword. But the reality is, if you need volume, it needs to be automated. You can't find 50 clients. It's a numbers game, right? You have 5,000 people you reach out to. Maybe 200 will look at your message and respond. Out of that, maybe 10 will have a conversation, and out of that, you may get 1 or 2 clients. Yeah. So it is a numbers game, like it is in sales for anything.
Yeah, totally agree. And of course, you have the marketing background, so you know exactly how the numbers game plays out. And I think something that you brought to light there that was important is like, it's something that needs to be automated if you're going to cast a wider net and not be running through network, right? And the reason for that is there's only so many hours in the day, right? And so I guess I'm a little bit curious where you're at currently in terms of your time burden for delivering to your existing clients. And then, let's pretend that you double your client base like tomorrow, right? Now you've got to probably improve your operations. So I guess I'm curious what the main things are that take up most of your time as of currently.
Sure. So let me describe my week then. I think that will illustrate
Okay.
what you're
Yeah.
asking. So I spent about 3.5 days dealing in a good way with clients, and 1.5 days trying to find new ones.
Yeah.
If I could put in place a system driven by AI so that my 1.5 day happens automatically, meaning the prospecting, that means I have another day and a half that I can focus on solely meeting the needs of my clients. So that's already increasing by 50% almost my capacity. So
Yeah.
that's simple math, right?
Yeah, very simple math. And then I guess I'm also curious though on that 3.5 perspective. Maybe what some of the things in terms of delivering for clients are. Obviously, we're not talking about removing the human element of coaching and trying to divert from that, but maybe what are some of the just operational things that are going on that maybe are a little bit tedious and you don't feel are delivering directly the coaching value that you're seeking to prioritize?
I'll give you an example where you will nod your head. I know you will. Invoicing. Invoicing for my time. That is complete waste of time that does not add value to the client.
Yeah.
It's time I need to spend. It reminds them they owe me money, but I don't feel like I'm changing somebody's life in that moment when I have to send invoice, right?
No.
That's a simple example where I'm like, okay, if I could automate invoice creation and then follow up if it hasn't been paid, and then close it once it has been paid. If I no longer have to think about that and go through the maneuvers to actually make it happen manually, that would save me time too.
Yeah. Anything else other than invoicing that's just like particularly like, oh, this is just monotonous. I'm sure there's got to be like like comms, like maintaining calendar, little things like that. But any other big ones that stick out as particularly time consuming?
Not really. What I'm not spending enough time on, to be honest, and I should invest more time in, is nurturing. Nurturing of people who are not quite ready today. Because there's this thing in marketing, right? You have to be the right place at the right time with the right person. The thing is, you don't actually know what those three components are for any given contact. So you need to stay top of mind so that when the time comes and they have a need and they're ready, they're like, oh, I just got an email 2 weeks ago from Olivier. I should reach out to him, right? That takes time as well. And that's where I think AI automation can be super helpful is the nurturing part so that you remain top of mind until the potential client, the prospect realizes they have a need, whether for themselves or somebody on their team.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot of people stand up, customize, and I've built my own customized like CRM platform essentially, where I'm able to recognize where people are along the process and kind of have a feel for, okay, like what kind of outreach like makes sense right now, just to be staying in touch and checking in, and I think it's great. And back to the way that it helps the human element, in my opinion, it gives you this way of like, if you're managing, let's say 50 people that you're in contact with, 10 of them are clients, 40 of them maybe could be clients someday, and are people you're just interested in the businesses of and like enjoy talking to, right? Like in my opinion, it's a great thing to have a system in place where you can just have, let's say every week or 2 weeks, a notification coming in saying like, hey, you haven't talked to this person in a while. This was the last thing that you guys talked about. Like, this might be something that's like worth bringing up to them, whether it's some news that came out or, when you went to France, right? And I just like, I have been still building out the system for myself in full transparency, but I was thinking in my head, like last week, I was like, oh, like he's in France, right? So like, I remembered to like ask you about France because I've been to France and I want to hear about it, right? So it's like the little things like that where I think it can serve a huge role in the nurturing, right? Not just planting a bunch of seeds,
100%.
but watering the
100%.
ones that matter the most.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So I guess that brings me to kind of like wrapping up the episode here, which is where do you want to be in 12 months from now? And what is the main thing, maybe, let's say, that's in the way of you being where you want to be?
Okay. So I have an answer that's a fork with two uh, with two pointy edges.
Okay,
Number
it's an
one,
interesting fork. Usually forks have, wait, is it three or four? Now I'm trying to remember.
yeah, it depends on the size of the fork. Usually it's three or four.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the fork in the road, you either go left, you go right. In my
Yes,
case,
yes, yes.
I want to do both. Um, so going on the left would be increasing the size of my coaching practice and the number of clients I have. That's where AI outreach, pipeline development, nurturing, all that comes into play.
Yeah.
The other side of me, I'm launching a European company in the Americas market. So that is has nothing to do with coaching. It's very product focused, sales focused. And so when you ask me what I want in 12 months, I want to be able to split my time so that
Mm,
I can do what I really love, which is coaching, and really sustain the growth of a company that is has huge potential. And I like that because I need my brain to be balanced across multiple things, otherwise I get bored. And so this is a good
me
equilibrium
too.
of
Me too.
business owner and human coach. So what stands in the way? On the business side, really nothing, just my effort and my brain. So hopefully that's not going to be in the way. On the coaching side,
I
it's a
don't think.
pipeline, as we talked about.
Gotcha, gotcha. I mean, to me, it seems like, I mean, you have to take it one of two ways. How slow, how, or not slow necessarily, but how gradual do you want the rollout of the product that you're introducing into the
Mhm.
US market to be? And therefore, how much outreach and lead gen do you want to be doing to grow the coaching business while you gradually do that? Or is the approach to first bunker down operations as much as possible on the existing client base, see where you're at in terms of time capacity, and then go back to the drawing board and be able to make the decision for time allocation and say, okay, how much time do I have now that
Yep.
I'm fully optimized, and how do I want to use that time? So definitely, it's certainly a debate because
Hmm.
arguably the route to being in a better financial situation quicker is push the lead generation front now, make that push, and now you've got a sustained pipeline. And then from there, after making an initial push, probably you get in a situation where the referrals from those clients and whatnot can sustain the coaching business for a
Yep.
period of time while you focus on the other one. So I guess I'm curious, which path are you leaning more towards? Focus on operations first and start introducing the product, or acquire some more customers through some lead generation initiatives and then bring out the product a little bit slower later?
So I have an answer that has to do with the situation of the company that I'm trying to establish in the US.
Ah,
They're,
okay. If,
they're
if it's
Europe.
secretive, you don't have to tell. You don't have to
No, no, I
share.
can talk about it, but
Okay.
it's a European based company, which means that we have 9 hours difference,
Yeah.
which means that by the time I wake up and I wake up early. We can still have conversations, but by the time I reach noon, they're all at home having dinner with their families, which means I have the entire afternoon free to do work on that business and developing the business, but also coach clients. So to me, it's not an either or the way you described it. It's actually a combine of the two, a combination of the two, where I can manage probably easily 10 clients concurrently while building out the business in the US for this European company. So that to me is not a struggle. If anything, I like to be busy. It helps my brain work. And so I'm fine with that. And if I need
Oh,
to
wow.
work, more hours because I have more clients or more hours because the business is exploding, I'm fine doing that. When
Okay.
I'm 75, I might have a different answer, but
Yeah,
right now that's not the case yet.
yeah, yeah. Right now, the goal is to get to the point that when you're 75, you don't have to think about any of it. You can just think, all right,
Exactly.
what do I
Exactly.
go back to France, hang out a little bit more? Yeah.
There we go.
I don't know. You're such a hard worker and so motivated. I feel like I see you continuing to work. I had a call earlier with a gentleman who had just turned 81, and first of all, I couldn't tell at all, and that's because he did the most servant leadership, let's say, driven work that I've probably one of the most like that I've ever experienced in a
Hmm.
conversation so far. Just huge social impact
That's
guy,
awesome.
and so he was like, you would have never guessed my age. What do you have? And I said, absolutely not. And he
Yeah.
said, that's
Yep.
because I'm so damn happy doing what I love. And it warmed my heart.
That's great.
I
That's
picture the
great.
same for you. Um,
Thank you.
well, fantastic. Yeah, I'm really excited to see your journey unfold more. I guess last thing for our viewers, could you just tell us where they can find more information about HPO Coach if they're interested in your services, and
Sure.
also tell them where they can find your book if they're interested?
Okay. So uh, to contact me, it's easy. I have a website. It's hpocoach.com. You can reach me directly via email, Olivier, Olivier, at hpocoach.com. And the book under my name as the author is available on Amazon. So, if you feel like you need to spend some birthday money, I'd be happy to have you read and then share back with me if the book and the lessons that were shared were useful or not.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Olivier, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on.
No, Ethan, same.
If today's conversation resonated with you and you're looking to learn how business leaders are driving value using AI, make sure to hit subscribe. Feel free to check out our other episodes. And I've also left my LinkedIn in the description below, so you're welcome to connect. And I will see you next time.